right, so I want to thank the people that helped out this week. Karen Donahue for PAC, she's doing a fine job. And as a kindergarten teacher in her, what she did was she went over our how to use the media and really gave us step-by-step instructions. You know, it's one thing having a media person write the instructions, and it's another thing having a kindergarten teacher write the instructions. So, and we want to give thanks to Marshall Wolf, who is co-coordinating the Earth Care team. Do you want to stand so everybody knows who you are? Yeah, with Johnny. And they're showing a great movie tomorrow night called Inequality. Highly political, hard to believe it's happening in this church, right? And we want to give thanks to Pat Bennett for website and taking care of all of our money. For Mary, Susan P.A., Dee, and Marby and Tana on the marketing team that met this week. For Rick and John Campanelli and Thomas Turbine, because they always get our signs out. God bless them. Yeah. And for Stormy back there, who's doing it solo today. Yeah. And for Barbara Richards, who's always doing an outstanding job in our bookstore. And Ron Reagan is making our little What is Unity CD, so I really appreciate him doing that. Okay, we sorely need about 2 more people to help us with cleaning. There's one team that's on there like 3 or 4 times this month. So if you can help us, that'd be great. The Good Karma Kitchen, the same people keep signing up, so and there's very few of those. So if you could, before you get something to eat, just go look at that list if you're in town. Maybe come a little early and help on the setup or cleanup. We'd appreciate it. And then let's see. So how's it handshakes? We're going to change the start next week. We're going to, the marketing team advised that we try not to do an 8:30 service, which is not a favorite of too many people here. Sometimes we have 6 or 7, or when it's highly populated, maybe 12. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to stay in our seats during hugs and handshakes and do the Catholic thing. Peace be with you, behind you, to the side of you. And so we'll see how that goes. So we're in a community, we're trying to accommodate each other, and we'll see how it goes. There's no healing session today because the 14-year-old Carolyn's son said no, he didn't want to go to church, he doesn't want to do it, so that's fine. So I'll meet with the platform people about 11:35, so if you want to go to the light infusion, you can be on time for that. All right, and let's see here. A couple of biblical humor jokes. What kind of man was Boaz before he married Ruth? Ruthless. What do they call pastors in Germany? German shepherds. Who was the greatest financier of the Bible? Noah. He was floating his stock while everyone else was in liquidation. There are some good ones. Okay, so the name of this talk is We're Here Because We're Not There Yet. We are here because we're not there yet. Unless we're bodhisattvas, and I'm sure there are bodhisattvas among us. So how many of us are trying to improve something with our life? Yeah, almost everybody, whether it's eyesight or relationships or get your blood numbers down, whatever it is. And we're here, but we're not there yet. We're not where we want to be. And why is that? Well, maybe the time's not right. Maybe it takes like effort. Maybe it takes like exercise. And who wants to exercise? And maybe it'd be better if, when I exercise if I lost a little weight first, but then, you know, it's coming up on holiday time. This is the wrong time of year to do that. You know how it goes. And so we're here because we're not there yet. We're not there yet in consciousness. So could our life in any area of our life be better? How many would say yes? All right. All right. And so divine order, the power that we're studying this month, is really getting right in right alignment with the divine, and then getting clear on what you want, and then calling it forth, not only calling it forth, but then taking the action. So in the Quest authors, the Lafolas, they have suggested that whatever is going through your mind if you're aware of your mind speak during the day or during the week, they suggest you actually write it down so you actually can see it. Because then when you can really see it, you're really clear about how you can change it to something different. So we know as truth students, we have ability to do many things, and we also have the ability not to do it. Like, people can say, hey, you know what? I've worked my whole life, I'm getting old, and I don't want to do any of this stuff. And that's fine, because that's your right. We can continue to try to answer those questions in the universe that are answerable, or we cannot. We can try to prove truth to ourselves. We can examine our beliefs, or we cannot. I mean, it's our choice to be whatever kind of truth student that we want. And it's all a matter of context, isn't it? If you tell a person that water boils at a certain point, well, most of us would agree with that, but if you're up in the Andes at 10,000 or 12,000 or whatever elevation that is, and you tell them, they're like, you're crazy, it does not boil, then it takes so much longer. And then if you take 2 4-year-olds and you say, take the chewing gum out of your mouth and put it together, and you say 1 and 1 equals how much, they'll say 1. So everything is in context, isn't it, to what we believe. And so sometimes the only way to get out of our minds is what we call this meditation and this prayer time. Has anybody been using those insight timer meditations? Good, are you liking them? Cool, yeah, all right. I couldn't quite see my iPad at 3 o'clock when I woke up this morning, and so I chose one that was like a constant drumming for 20 minutes. I was like, oh man, I'm not going to do that one again. Okay, but that actually helps take us out of our mind. It helps us really connect with the divine, with kind of that field out there, that field of all potentiality where everything is there. And so our beliefs create our world, and we use our imaginations to create the life that we want. There was an old movie, it's a sci-fi movie actually, that ran about 50 years ago. And it's about it's an Allied warplane flying somewhere over Europe during World War II. And underneath it is a clear canopy where one guy is there, and he's kind of like sitting in this glass bubble, and he can see things that the other people in the airplane above him cannot. So this bubble's hanging down here, and from what happens is, of course, you know, the plane gets damaged, but it's still up. And so the pilot then realizes, well, I've got to make a crash landing at the nearest, friendliest airport. And he gets ready to do that, but as he gets ready to do that, his crew tells him, we don't have any landing gear. It's been shot. It's no longer on our plane. So then he's tormented because he knows to save himself and the other 4 people that are up in his part of the plane, he has to do a crash landing, and the guy in the bubble is going to be a goner. So it's, you know, he's tormented, and he doesn't know what to do, but he knows what he has to do. Well, in the meantime, the guy down there in the bubble, we find out, watching the show, that he's an artist. And so he takes his sketch pad out of his backpack and he starts sketching the plane, and he puts him in the little bubble. And then he draws in the landing gear. And then he draws in these like Mickey Mouse huge tires with candy stripes and lights coming out of them. And what he does is he entered a trance before he did that. He knew what was going on. And he entered this trance, and he drew all this. And right as he's putting the finishing touches on it, the plane lands, and the crew members and the pilot, you know, run out of there. And then they turn around, and as they turn around, they see the guy in the bubble coming out and walking to them. So he walks to them, and then when he walks and he gets there, they all hug him, and then he's out of the trance. And then they all look at the plane, like, how did that happen? And the plane just sort of like hangs there for a moment, and then it just goes on fire, and it crashes. Kind of interesting, isn't it? It's like, how did that really happen? Okay, yeah, it was sci-fi, but right now, what we know from reality and we know from the universe, how far off is that? Just by looking at things, we know we change things. That's what biology of belief is all about, and he had discovered that 20 years before he wrote the book, but he knew he was going to get poo-pooed way back then, so we waited 20 years before he came out with it. Now everybody's proven it. And the more concentrated we focus at looking at something, then the quicker it comes into manifestation. So can we imagine the impossible? You know, we gave you this little truth booklet today, and it talks about how thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in East Germany were leaving, and they went over to, where they go, Hungary and Czechoslovakia, and then the wall came down. Well, the wall had already come down in consciousness, hadn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always reports. There's one, this woman, she's 23 years old, experienced driver, of course, many decades of driving under her belt. And she loses control of her car, and she realizes her friend bounced out of the car and is trapped under, and she lifts up the car, and the car is 20 times her weight. They say, how did you do that? Well, nobody else was around. I had to. My friend's leg was there. How do these things happen like that? You know? There's a story about Neil Goddard. He's coaching this business. Anybody want to turn that air down a little bit? Down to maybe 73 or something. Neil Goddard, he's a 20th century philosopher, and he's meeting with this woman who is in New York, and she's a business person, and he's trying to teach her about visualization and the power of imagination. Now, she's grandmother, she happens to have her 9-year-old with her. And as they're leaving, the 9-year-old is jumping up and down, he's hugging Neville, and he's saying, thank you, I know what I want, and now I know how to get it. And so every night before he goes to bed, he relaxes his mind, and he just sees himself walking that dog, because he wants a little collie puppy. And then he has the collie in bed with him, and he wakes up, he's actually petting the fur. He's petting the fur. And so the grandmother explains to him, look, you know what? Your dad doesn't even like dogs. Your mom doesn't want you to have it. 9-year-old's too young for this responsibility, blah, blah, blah. And, but the kid already knew the dog was his dog. Well, ironically, maybe not, there's Be Kind to Animals, and everybody has to write an essay. Why would I like to own a dog? And then whoever wins the essay gets a young collie puppy. So after witnessing all the synchronicities that led to their son having the puppy, the boy's parents recognized that something bigger than their feelings about having a puppy or not having a puppy, this was about something bigger. So they said, yes, of course you can have that puppy. So all our scientists have proven that beyond any doubt, reality changes in the presence of our focus. And the more we focus, the greater the change, the quicker the change. So right now, our role as humans on this globe, anyway, the humans right here, we have the luxury, and I do mean the luxury, of being self-actualized, don't we? We can do whatever we want. We can spend the day however we want. And so how can we help the world? How can we help our political system? Well, we can, whatever party you are, we can say what we want. We can speak the word. We want a respectable statesperson. We want somebody who's a team player who can work with all global leaders. We can be clear on what we want, and then we can start manifesting it by seeing it, by voicing it, by using the power of our word. You know, the blood moon is happening on the 28th of this month. And so, you know, if you read about the blood moon, it says, oh, here's the apocalypse again. Which is a great headline, the apocalypse again. Okay. So there's a great shift coming. Some people believe it's the end of the world according to, you know, all these tetrad moons and all the things with the Jewish holidays and all that. But we know there's a great shift. So what's the shift that we want to see? Right? Because we can create the shift that we want to see. We're new thought thinkers. So we can create, we can relax our minds just like the kid with the puppy did. And we can say, what are we capable of imagining and what are we capable of bringing forth? A peace-filled, harmonious world? You know, what other factions are out there? They're being played up big, like many things are, with marketing the news. But think about the people who lift automobiles from the ground. The little boy that wanted the collie. And even though it was sci-fi, there was part of it that wasn't sci-fi. It's like, you know, if you imagine things that you need or want to do a certain task, all of a sudden they show up, don't they? Yeah. So we've all said about certain things that we're powerless to change them, haven't we? I mean, how many people have said that? I've said it. I mean, if you look at certain things out there and you just think, oh, well, how can that ever change? Because the people that are in charge of the laws, you know, the corruption, you know, they're making the laws. So how can it change? But it can change, can't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because we can bring in people who have higher consciousness. And we can see a world where people are laying down their swords, and we can see a world where there is peace and harmony. So divine order, when we talk about divine order and when we claim divine order is really relaxing our minds, tuning into that field of potentiality, whatever you call it. We call it the God force, but it's light, love, intelligence, joy, whatever. Getting that guidance and then doing everything in your power, meaning using your imagination, your visualization, your voice, writing it out, to bring forth that which you want. And if not us, then who? Namaste.